Welcome to today's episode. Today we're going to be talking about two of the most intimate and powerful energies that you can find in a natal chart, in a astrological natal chart, and that really affect relationships more than people normally is aware about that. These are two planets that they play an amazing role in relationships. So if you're ready, grab a bottle of water, maybe a cup of tea as I am, and let's begin. So welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited that you're here. One more episode. This episode, it's, I believe, one of the most amazing ones that made you listen here, because today we're going to be talking about two planets that affect the relationships and any kind of connections that we make, and most of the times we are not even aware of them. Most of people, they just live their lives in automatic pilot, and the tendency, as you may are aware, because if you listen to this podcast, it's because you must be quite self-aware, that the tendency is to blame to each other instead of looking inwards. So what we're doing in this episode is actually the opposite. We're going to look inwards and we look at what things we can actually do something about it. What can be responsible for? What can we change in ourselves? How can we become the best version of ourselves? Long story short. So the first thing that I have to explain before we start to talk about planets, astrology, and blah, 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 we have to really understand the mind. So we have conscious decisions, and then we have subconscious mind and unconscious mind. And 95% of the decisions that we make normally are made with our unconscious, which is this part of the brain. And this part of the brain is the one that lives and work in automatic pilot, because they may be behaviors that we learn or patterns that we learn when we were very little, very young, from family, from educators, people around us, or they may be even personality traits that we bring to this earth to evolve. So before I continue, I just want to point here an amazing quote from Joe Dispenza that I really like, and I always remember and say to my clients, and is that our personality is our personal reality, and we can change our personality. And when we can change our personality, we can change our personal reality. If everything that we see around us is a perception, if we change the observer's perception, we can actually change the reality outside. Yes or no? So this is what it's about, to really understand what are the patterns that are triggering or pressing the emotional buttons and not allowing yourself to move in the co-creator consciousness, and sometimes move more from a victim consciousness, or not knowing what to do, or in uncertainty, right? So let's start. So these two planets that affect relationships are Venus and the Moon. And let's start with the Moon. The Moon, it's related with all our emotional mechanisms that we learn since we were young, since we were very little, we're children. And these mechanisms is what we call the lunar mechanism. And this is what, in our subconscious mind, they act mostly automatically. They bring us security, and they make us feel safe in a container. But not always that means that you're gonna be safe or you feel safe. It's like a mechanism that you do so you feel better, but not always is gonna be for your highest good. Let me explain. For example, if a moon is in Pisces, Pisces moon tends to be very sensitive. They normally feel sensorial. So they're feeling within your body, within their bodies. They feel what other people are feeling. They are highly intuitive and very empathetic. So they tend to even empathize with someone else's emotion. And because of that, their mechanism is one, to withdraw and not share what is happening. And the second one is that they tend to have the saver, rescuer, or they tend to be in the victim role, depending on the situation. Because they feel so much, they may feel the victim of the situation, or they feel so much that they want to rescue the person. Okay? So that's an example, but not always that's beneficial, because maybe the role it's not to save anyone or to be the victim. Maybe the role is something else, right? So that's an example of how the moon can subconsciously act on us automatically and make us make decisions that maybe they are not for our highest good. Now let's understand Venus. Venus, it's all about pleasure, it's about enjoying ourselves, it's about attraction, magnetism. It's when two people get to know each other. Normally, they feel attracted by their Venuses because this is what they like, what they enjoy. So when they see that in another person, normally they say, I like that. There is some exceptions, as always, because if they can be attracted by the moon as well, which means that they can be attracted by the moon of this person if they haven't been responsible and take care of their wounds before and they require healing for the moon. That is when the confusion comes in. In the first stages of the relationship, most of people, they always show the best face of themselves. And what is one of the best faces of ourselves? Venus, because it's when we are in pleasure, when we are fun, when we are attractive, when we are magnetic. But as the time passes by, we start to show all our faces because we have many faces. And one of the things that I love about astrology is that we can see all the different faces. We can see yourself when you are in your moon, or yourself when you are in your sun. So in the case that you are in your moon, this is when your inner child come up. The inner child that requires protection, feels unsafe, thinks that is in danger, and it requires that. If the person haven't looked after this moon, this little inner child before, what it's gonna do, it's gonna project onto the other person to do this role. Or sometimes it gets very offended or defensive, and if it's not able to identify, hey, this is my moon mechanism, then may get a bit emotional, and then maybe they retrieve or the fight or the flight or the freeze, right? This is the mechanisms when we are in danger according to our minds, but that doesn't mean that we're in danger, but our minds make us believe that. That's why it's so powerful to understand that. So the more that we look after our moons, the more that we get to know ourselves, the more that we get to heal our moons as well, the more that we can enjoy our relationships in our Venus. We can really embody our attractiveness and our magnetism. So in today's episode, we're going to talk more about Venus. So you get to understand what is your Venus, how can you work on your Venus. But it's important to also understand that the moon is an important factor for you to shine the light of your Venus and to embody the energy of your Venus. So let's start understanding Venus. Venus is a planet and is quite close to the Earth. So planets are closer to the Earth and to the Sun. They are the more extrovert face of ourselves. So it's where we easily show up to the world as a personality, as a way of being. as a way of we communicate and the way that we shine. The planets after Saturn are the planets that we don't easily show outside of us. People that get to know a lot of us may see and they can recognize some of our characteristics. Ourselves, if you receive a natal chart or you know about astrology, when you start to understand these planets in yourself, you start to recognize, oh shit, this is quite true. This is how I am. Now, what happened with astrology as well is that sometimes people may have an astrology chart, they have an alineation, like let's say like Venus in Cancer. And when I share about Venus in Cancer, they say like, I don't feel like that at all. Maybe the person feels opposite. And this is also possible because this is when a planet is not activated or active. And this could be because of family commitments and family upbringings where the planet and the nature was completely repressed or suppressed or unsuppressed for them to perform what was expected in the families or expected at school or expected in society. But the more that you connect with yourself, your essence and your nature, you naturally will start to draw to the natural energies, which is going to align with your astrology. So this is a very common question that I normally receive too when I speak about astrology with people and when people message me is that I don't feel like this. Or when I see in your comments as well, I don't feel like this. It's like, if you don't feel like this, maybe it's because it's not active. So maybe the work is on connecting with that energy and doing some kind of works on around that to see if that brings up and how does it feel. If it feels more nature than going in the opposite way. So coming back to Venus, Venus rules 2 signs. One is Taurus and the other one is Libra. Taurus is all about body, pleasure, abundance, prosperity, and Mother Earth. Libra, it's all about beauty, relationships, harmony, and diplomacy. Venus itself, as the planet, is connected with the feminine principle of pleasure, of enjoyment, of sensuality, receptivity, and attraction. Venus is the complement of Mars, which is the opposite, right? It's the masculine energy, it's the action, the direction, the drive. The thing is that for many, many years, almost or around 2,000 years, people, men and women, have repressed their feminine, have repressed their Venuses. Women, because they were told that they have to embody their moons, they have to be the mother, they have to be the one nourishing all the time within the relationship as well. But if you think about it, men are also attracted by Venuses, as well as women are attracted by the Venus of the man. Let me share that. And the men, for all these years, they've been told that they have to embody their Mars all the time. Their Mars is the action, is the doing, is the drive, which is great. It's a part of the man. But men also have a beautiful feminine energy. And when they embody both of them, they alchemize, that's what the name of this podcast, Alchemist Journey, when they alchemize both of them, and they can be the balance between both of them, same as women, because women, we also have feminine and we have masculine, and we have a healthy masculine as well to be wearing and to be embodying. Then we can get into a relationship and we can be the balance. So we don't have to be only one of them. But when you're in the relationship, you have the choice to choose what energy you want to embody. This is what we call polarity, right? Where the woman can embody their feminine energy and the man can embody masculine energies. So having said that, Venus is being quite repressed for many, many years. Even it's been criticized for the people that were embodying it. Like people saying like you are lazy or you are too sensual or too flirty, etc, etc, etc. When you were maybe just enjoying in pleasure and sensual. And what is wrong with that? But there is a negative charge on that in society. So Venus, it's very connected with beauty, with sensuality, with attraction, with pleasure, with magnetism. Socially, Venus expresses herself through charm, diplomacy, grace, and charisma. The qualities of a healthy Venusian communication, because I talk about communication here now, because one of the characteristics of Venus is diplomacy. And diplomacy is being able to create an atmosphere where you can communicate with assertiveness and taking in consideration the other person. So let's navigate very briefly what is a healthy Venusian communication. It will be with tact and discernment. So thinking about the impact of your words before speaking could be active listening, truly listening to the person before you're speaking and before wanting to just respond. Compassionate assertiveness, where you express your needs and your boundaries with deep respect for others and others' needs and boundaries. Emotional regulation is remaining in calm, center, and emotionally grounded during a conversation. So look, emotional regulation that goes beyond control, because I dislike the word control. Even it's quite trendy now to say that. A solution-oriented mindset, it's focusing on the creative solution instead of assessing the blame and blaming to each other. Why am I sharing this is because Venus in communication is quite important in diplomacy, especially because Libra has a characteristic. He can be or she can be very diplomatic in a healthy way, but in the shadow, if they don't develop the healthy diplomacy, there is the people-pleasing, self-abandonment tendency too. So that's why to point it here. Now, Venus in love, which is the main topic of today, but communication in love is quite important, is that she wants to be a lover. She wants to feel desired, devoted, appreciated, valued, and shared. Can you imagine Aphrodite, which is the goddess of Venus in the mythology, wanting to rescue Aries or Poseidon? I'm already laughing just about thinking about it. Because no, you cannot even imagine her rescuing them. You imagine Aphrodite just enjoying in the trees, just in pleasure and absolutely magnetic. I love doing this imagination or visualization exercise when we activate our Venuses, which is like imagine yourself as a flower, beautiful flower. There are so many types of flowers. You pick up the one that really resonates with you. It can be a sunflower, it could be a rose, could be whatever it comes to your mind, a lilith, whatever. A lily. The thing is, you are the flower in your Venus energy. And the Venus, which is Mars, come to you. You are the flower with the essence, with the beauty, with the attraction and magnetism. And before I continue, I just want to thank you for being here and watching, and I hope you're enjoying this episode. And if you're enjoying this episode and you would like to receive more episodes like these ones, all you have to do is click in the subscribe button so you get notified every time that I upload a new episode about astrology or healing or any of the things that normally I share. Currently is astrology. Clicking the thumbs up or in the heart button, depending on the platform where you are, and share it with a friend so this podcast gets to more people. And now let's continue with the episode. Another thing with Venus is very connected with self-worth, with personal values, and with deservedness. Feeling valuable, feeling worth it, and attractive. But one of the things that disconnect ourselves from our Venuses is low self-esteem, insecurity, fears of abandonment or rejection, fear of betrayal, and difficulty with receiving. Any type of receiving. Could be love, could be a gesture for someone, could be a gift, any kind of receiving. Also, feeling fundamentally not enough. At the same time, this is connected with abundance and with prosperity. So when we are very connected with our Venuses, it's activated, it's a healthy Venuses, also when we feel abundance and we feel prosperity. And even I could be here for hours talking about Venus, but this is a podcast episode and I'm going to summarize everything. We're going to move now to talk about Venus in each sign, how it acts, okay? So the first one is when Venus is in Aries. Venus in Aries loves adventure, loves initiation, like initiating projects. They love movement. They love sports. You can take a Venus in Aries to do any kind of adventure or going to do activities, and they will love this kind of dates. They really feel on fire. Now, the other side of the Aries side, the inner side, I will say, is that they love pursuing or being pursued, depending if it's a woman or a man, depending on the person. They love this kind of energy of initiating, and keeping the spark in the relationship. And because of that, they may overgive or overdo because they just want to keep the spark. But at the same time, that creates some resentment along the way because they feel like they were the ones doing, initiating and saying and proposing and doing to keep the spark. And maybe they don't feel reciprocated. So if you're a partner of a Venus in Aries, that's good to know. But at the same time, for Venus in Aries, that is your spiritual work. That you can enjoy your relationship and keep the spark, but also being patient because not everyone feels the same as you. And they don't have these expectations all the time. It's great to communicate and to find a balance if that is what you need, but at the same time, from your side, also working in this patience will be very evolutionary aspect of you. Or trait. At the same time, they can feel a bit bored in the relationship if they don't see this movement, this initiation, adventure. And more than I think, they don't want to feel needed, but they like to feel wanted. This is the pursuing energy, right? I was saying. But the spiritual growth here comes when they get to realize that their love doesn't need performance all the time, but to be real. Now let's move to Venus in Taurus. Venus in Taurus loves pleasure through the senses because it's Taurus. They love pleasure. They love enjoying themselves. There's a lot of security and stability. Like emotionally stable, like consistent acts. They love that. They even can pay attention more if it's a healthy Venus, if it's a healed Venus in Taurus. They may pay attention more to consistency, that chemistry. At the same time, they have to be mindful about that and to not confuse comfort in a relationship with connection. They may feel safe because it's comfortable, because it's easy, because there is no more than problems. It's like it feels easy, comfortable, but maybe they don't feel that strong connection with the person. So important. They love food. They love spas, massages, and day baths, and physical affection. They love to be touched. They love nature, plants, grounding. So dates, take care of him on nature, spas, anything that they can enjoy themselves. They're gonna be so happy. And another thing is that because they have this easy drawn to abundance and prosperity, they have to be mindful again here and invited to recognize the difference between being appreciated by the abundance or and being appreciated for who they truly are as a soul level. And also, as a reminder for Venus in Taurus, material possessions can bring joy, but the self-worth should never depend on them. And another thing for them is that actions always speak louder than words. This is something very important for them. Now, Venus in Gemini. This is completely opposite. For them, it's communication. It's like they love words of affirmation. They love communicated through words and communication. They're extremely social and curious. So they like going out, doing plans outside. Also, they love learning and teaching. So they love when they're learning new things, different things, anything that they feel curious about. But they also love teaching you about what they know, because they normally know a lot of things, more than you can even imagine. So they are very attracted to people who stimulate their minds. And they enjoy movement, flexibility, variety of changing plans, and lively environments. They love communication that it's fun, it's entertaining, it's with humor and shared learning. The only one thing, well, the few things actually for Gemini to evolve here, to take in account for the spiritual growth, is to value presence over performance. And I know this is a challenge for them because it's a mental energy, it's a mental sign. So they tend to perform so they don't feel that no presence within the body. For them to feel the vulnerability, the protective mechanism could be avoided and get out. And I move and I change. So taking account, because in a relationship, there is intimacy, there is vulnerabilities, and there are emotional moments to share with the other person. So this is important to learn how to connect with your body, how to ground yourself, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, breath work. All these tools are awesome for them, because for Venus in Gemini, to ground ourselves, to come back to the body. Their growth comes from remaining present and allowing authentic emotional connections to develop. Now, Venus in Cancer. They love home, family, emotional stability, and creating a neutral sanctuary. So, Venus in Taurus, not sure if I shared that earlier, they love to have a sanctuary in their house. And they love creating this sanctuary. But the sanctuary is like a comfortable sanctuary where they arrive and they just feel like in the most comfortable place, you know. For Venus in Cancer, it's like the more nurturing sanctuary. They often have a poetic, artistic side inside of them, deeply caring nature. And they seek relationships where they feel stable. There is like a commitment. There is commitment in the relationship. And they want, more than anything else, what they want in a relationship is to feel in family. They want to feel like this is a family. And they love as well to spend time with family. So it's part of that also spend time with family, you know, like having this family energy. They love that. Spending quality time with the loved ones, obviously, after all what I said, and having and creating this emotional closeness with the person that they're sharing time. The only thing, the one of the things with Cancer here is that Cancer, they withdraw when they don't feel comfortable. So their tendency is that because they feel too much, same as all the water signs, Scorpio and Pisces, they're very similar on this, that they withdraw when they're uncomfortable. Other people, what they do is they just avoid, and they just disassociate from themselves and just move to another way. But when there is a water sign, they feel so much, they go within, and sometimes they don't talk about what they're feeling, and they assume that the person is going to understand them. But because Cancer is this crab, what does a crab does is that the crab goes backwards and they hide in the little home. So this is what they do. So take in account, just if you are one of them, if you have Venus in Cancer, this is your tendency. If you are with someone who is a Venus in Cancer, now that this is their tendency too. Learning to communicate your needs is going to be so helpful for the relationship and for yourself as well. Be mindful about overgiving too, because you tend to feel so much that instinctively you overgive what other people are feeling, what they're needing, and you forget about you giving yourself what you need or asking for what you need. So these two things are going to be great for your evolution in the relationship. Other than that, they have a deepest source of love. Also, your deepest source of love, safety, and security already exist within you. Remember that. The deepest source of love, safety, and security already exists within themselves. Venus in Leo. So Venus in Leo is so fun. He loves being creative, admire, seen, celebrated, appreciated. They have such a natural light to shine, and they are drawn to entertainment, creativity, theater, arts, performance, romance, and play. Life is meant to be enjoyed, according to them, and they love relationships that feel joyful, expressive, and fun. They need to feel admired, but it's equally important for the other person to admire them. So mutual admiration is essential in their relationship. They love when they are appreciated too and recognized by their heart, because Leo, the deepest side of Leo's energy, they have such a beautiful heart inside of them. And when people can recognize and they can see that and appreciate that, they just feel so much love on that too, because the heart is what they are. They thrive in generosity too. They tend to be very generous too in the relationships. So I appreciate that too. And the lessons here, the lesson is recognizing that they don't have to earn love through performance or constant self-expression. And that they're worthy of love simply by being themselves. That they don't have to be performing all the time, that they don't have to be the fun one all the time to be loved or to be the funny one. They can be themselves and they're loved. At the same time, one of the things with Leo, it's also to feel seen. Like they don't need to seek the validation outside. Once they see themselves, they allow themselves also to be, because they see themselves or they are seen by themselves. Now, Venus in Virgo. Virgo loves cleanliness, tidiness, health, routines, and act of service. Where to start with them? So Venus loves simplicity, and they love as well to have everything tidy. You have your house tidy, they love that. At the same time, they also love spending time in their health. So like going and doing some yoga, meditation, take them for a healthy breakfast, healthy food. for them is so valuable. I would say that sometimes could be even more than take them to fancy places, but that's depending as well of a few more factors, but could be with them. Dates with them could be like for a walk or going for a smoothie, peaceful morning walk as well, acai bowl. These kind of things, they find it really romantic. They naturally express love through service and through attention to detail. So they tend to give and to serve to others. And this is a big one for them because they have to also remember to give to themselves. One of the tips for them is actually do a few hours of doing act of service, like could be for community, and that will fulfill their hearts too. They're invited to communicate their needs too to the people and to share and paying attention to what it's inside of them, what is inside of them, instead of expecting others to know it. Also, they have to learn to receive. Learning to receive and to allow themselves to receive from others. To ask for help too is a big one for them. To ask for help because they are the first ones to help other people most of the time, but also to receive help. Something to be mindful about is perfectionism and self-criticism within the relationship, within themselves too, because this is a shadow tendency of this. All right, Venus in Libra. Venus in Libra is about beauty, harmony. It's about arts, galleries, museums. They love all these things. They use their dressing and their outfits as a way of expression for themselves. They're naturally diplomatic, and if not, it's something that they have to develop because naturally they will develop too as they start working on them, bringing harmony wherever they go. Could be harmony in a group, in a house, in anything. They love seeing everything in harmony. Creative dates such as wine and paint, in an art gallery. This is like amazing dates with them. Now, healthy communication and diplomacy for them is very important. They have to see the harmony in the relationship too. Something to pay attention for them and being mindful is a tendency to avoid conflict in order to remain the peace and the harmony, and the tendency of people pleasing for the same reason. So assertive communication, developing assertive communication is going to be a great asset for your life because you're going to be able to maintain the harmony without abandoning yourself or abandoning your needs. Although they're naturally drawn to beauty, beneath all the beauty appreciation that they have, there is a soul inside of them. So they also like to be appreciated by their soul, not just by the beauties around them, because naturally they're going to be surrounded by beauty. It could be external beauty, inner beauty, but the inner beauty comes from the soul. They are architects of intimacy because they want to, in a relationship, they want to see both people are emotionally safe, respected, and supported. And one of the big things for them in a relationship to evolve is to not losing themselves within the relationship. A healthy us is as important as a healthy me, or a healthy we still requires a healthy me. Venus in Scorpio. Okay, so Scorpio craves passion, depth, intensity, and transformation. They're drawn to esoteric, spirituality, mystery, shadow work, and profound emotional experiences. Their artistic expression could be very raw and powerful and deeply emotional. Sometimes could be even a bit abstract or not understandable for everyone because it's so deep that sometimes it's like, wow, this is so deep. They love activities like releasing emotions or like going to very deep trance of static dances, anything esoteric and magical and related to that, they will love it too. And underneath all of that often lies a deep sensitivity around betrayal and trust. The journey of love, including self-love, involves integrating their shadow, integrating any unhealthy or any healing which is no unresolved. Yeah. Emotional wounds and exploring the Lilith energy, which is very connected with shame, with honesty and compassion. Be mindful of tendencies towards control, jealousy, possessiveness, or any emotional manipulation when fear takes over. Life continually invites them into greater vulnerability and authentic intimacy. They often need periods of solitude to emotionally integrate and recharge or discharge whatever is no longer serving them. This is very common for the 3 signs of water, by the way. It's the water signs. The 3 of them, they normally tend to require this time of solitude to recharge themselves because they feel so deeply that for them it's good to just take this time. So one of the greatest spiritual lessons is learning to trust. Trust is something that is built actually for them. Despite the intensity, they're incredibly loyal and protective, standing firmly beside the people that they love during their life's darkest moment. And this is so true. They stay there, even you are in the darkest moment of yourself. They tend to be people that are loyal and they stay. Venus in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about expansion. Like, this is the first word that comes to my mind. This, adventure, philosophy, and learning, and languages. Right, so they love all this. They love in a relationship if you can take them into trips, if you can take them to learn new languages, eating different food, different cultures. They love all that. But also they love philosophy and they love mysticism and learning from different faiths. No always have to be religion. Could be astrology, for example, could be any kind of philosophy, spirituality, could be science. Also, they want to learn a lot, and one of the things with Sagittarius to evolve always is to detach from that, and to be able to share the wisdom, but understanding that everyone has their own truths. They enjoy optimism, freedom, retreat, ceremonies, experiences that expand them. So you want to take them to somewhere as a day, as a presence. Venus is Sagittarius, they enjoy all these things. And they also value a lot a relationship where they can grow, they can evolve, and they can keep expanding. So for them, this is deeply important that they can feel this expansion and evolution within their relationships. Also, they enjoy conversations with people that they can expand their minds, their consciousness. Could be like metaphysics or go beyond just what they know, and especially in deep concepts. They're very optimistic, which I think is a great asset for them. The other side with this could be sometimes that they avoid vulnerability, hidden by jokes, humor, or even sarcasm. Venus in Capricorn. They love creating, achieving, having a direction, having a purpose in their relationship. They love to feel stability too, and to have a grounded love, and to feel loyalty and mutual responsibility, because they are very responsible. Sometimes they can be hyper responsible, some of them, depending on. So it's about having this mutual relationship, mutual commitment. They're gonna love it. They're gonna love work, and they can avoid vulnerability and intimacy sometimes while working or just doing work stuff. So paying attention, if you're a Venus in Capricorn, that tends to happen. So you are invited to actually connect with your heart here and to connect more with your vulnerability, to enjoy and to give yourself pleasure. If you can get a friend who is Taurus for you, this is going to be so good too. But a Taurus that I enjoy, not a Taurus that works as well. Because pleasure for you is something that is going to give you a lot too. One of the greatest things that they're very supportive with their partners. They are very loyal, as I said earlier, but they have to also allow themselves to be supported and to be held. Venus in Aquarius. All right, so Aquarius, they love freedom. They love innovation. They love disruptive plans. So take them to any original, not weird, but disruptive. Something that's out of the common, it's like very uncommon thing, out of the conventional, out of the traditional, and they will love it because they love being original. When I say original, it's even touching the different side, and they love community. So an Aquarius, like a Venus in Aquarius, who is quite by himself all the time, that's because their Venus in Aquarius is not too active. They love community, friendships, humanitarian causes, collective projects. They love volunteering, so they can do a volunteering too. All this, they love it. They love surprises. So you want to give them a present, a gift, give them a surprise. They may reinvent the traditional ideas of a relationship. Something so important for these people as well is freedom and detachment. And for them, it's also important to seek in relationship growth that is an evolution for themselves in the relationship more than an obligation. Right? So I'm going to repeat that. Like for them, the relationship is a way of growing more than an obligation because this is what society says or whatever. It's more like that. And the challenge with them is really to avoiding living exclusively in their mind. So connecting with emotions, finding the balance between the freedom and intellectual and the emotional side of them and emotional presence. But they really appreciate partners who respect their individuality, encourage their originality. They appreciate the minds because they have very original ideas. They allow them to have plenty of space and freedom for them to be themselves. Venus in Pisces. Venus in Pisces. Pisces. Pisces loves beauty, art, spirituality, and yes, unicorns too. And I'm kidding, but many Pisces people love unicorns too. And look, my moon is in Pisces, I know Pisces very well too. So anyway, more than anything else, Venus and Pisces, they love feeling nourished and that they have a strong spiritual connection with the partners. For them, this is so important. As important as going to nature, retreats, and doing spiritual workshops and going to spiritual events, they love that because that is the nourishment of their souls. And this is a part of accepting a Venus in Pisces. This experience helps them to reconnect with themselves and to return to their center. Their appreciation for beauty is often deeply mystical, compassionate, and transcendent. One of the things to be very mindful with Pisces here is the romantic idealization. They idealize the partners. They see their potential more than what they really are and who they truly are. And then that may bring disappointment because they realize this is not the person that I thought it was, but this person was never like that. You saw the potential on this person. So it's good to ground expectations, especially with all the Hollywood movies and the Disney movies. Do a bit of research on how this affects our minds because it's important. And then another lesson for them is to avoid the roles of the rescuer and the victim. I mentioned that earlier with the moon when I briefly gave the example of the moons. So highly intuitive, empathetic, and often physically sensitive, they naturally offer unconditional love to others. They can really give this unconditional love, but the same that they give this unconditional and divine love to others, the greatest gift for them is that they can give that to themselves too. And when they learn that they can give to themselves too, this is really powerful because they value real love. And remember that this is so important too, that you are not a martyr. And that sometimes the greatest way to give yourself your unconditional self-love sometimes is to walk away from situations that are not serving you. All right, my loves, I hope that served you, enlightened you. Now you get to understand a bit better your Venus, whatever your Venus is. I know you know too, so let me know in the comments, what is your Venus? Where is your Venus? In what sign? How you experiencing it? If what I share for Venus is how you experience it too. I love hearing your comments. I'm so grateful when you share them. Also, if you're enjoying these episodes and you would like to keep receiving more, make sure you hit in the subscribe button, in the thumbs up and the bell notification so you get notified every time that I upload a new episode like this one. Also, share it with a friend, with a family member, with someone who would love to know the Venuses as well and how to improve their relationships through astrology. And if this is really resonating with you and you would like to get to understand the map of your energies, astrological energies, to stop repeating the same patterns again and again in relationships, to evolve yourself, to create and manifest the life that you really want using your natural energies, the ones that your soul chose for you, find more purpose, more alignment. Also, I invite you to check the links down in the description where you have access to book a quantum astrology reading with me, where we will dive deep in your natal chart to get to understand your energies. Also, you will have access to a quantum session with me where you can shift these energies during the session, and also you get access as well to follow-up sessions if that's something that you feel called to. So I highly encourage you to go there and check in the link in the description. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being here. I mean, listening one more episode, and I see you in the next one. So much love and light. Shanti.